watching. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Crazy for KV's RC. I'm Tim. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. I just want to start the video before we get into the meat and potatoes and why you're all really here, and say I hope everyone had a great 2022. I hope you have big things planned for 2023. Put a comment down below. Do you have a resolution? Do you have a goal? My goal for 2023 was going to be to start a YouTube channel, but just got an early jump on it, and we already hit 200 plus subscribers, which I think is awesome. When I first created the channel at the beginning of November, my goal was really to hit 100 before the end of the year, and we far surpassed that. So that's really awesome, and that's all because of you guys and continuing to support me and check out the videos I post. And I'm going to continue to try to keep some unique content coming. I know some of the RC garage tour stuff is seems a little repetitive, but the goal of that is to get you guys familiar with what I have. That way in the future, if I'm doing upgrades or run videos, it'll be a little less intro to the vehicle, and you guys will already know kind of the baseline for everything. In addition to that, if you guys haven't seen something for a while and you want to see something again, let me know. Start putting it in the comments, message me on Instagram, however you want to get a hold of me. You know, if you want to see the Gatekeeper or the Jeep, the SCX-10-3, yeah, let me know, and I'll try to get them out and run them as you guys request them. So there's no surprises here, no clickbait, nothing like that. The RC Speedy C3 is done. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but it's good enough that we're going to go out and we're going to give it a shakedown run. It's in a great spot. I'll call it, 95 to 98% done. There's a few things I want to touch up here or there, but yeah, I really like how it sits right now. And as a benchtop vehicle, I'm in love with it. But we're going to get it out. We're going to drive it. And who knows, that might actually affect how I feel. I might like it more. I might like it a little bit less. But hopefully it drives well, because it's a lot of money. And I don't want it to just be a shelf queen. I want it to be something that I get out and that I enjoy. So if you're new to this series, quick introduction, and then I'm going to point you in the direction of the beginning of it and kind of let you walk through it and kind of see the steps. That way you'll have less questions along the way, and I'm definitely not going to walk through the entire build process in this video. But a quick intro, this is an RC Speedy chassis. It's called the C3. It's modeled after an Ultra 4 vehicle, kind of a Jeep reminiscent. Let's see if we can get the front there. Oh yeah. Very iconic front, not licensed or anything like that. You can get this chassis configured in a bunch of different ways. You pick your base platform. I went with the Vanquish VS410 Phoenix. I'm running portals on this. You can do straight axle as well. I think you can run it on the other VS410s. You can run a TRX4, axial based. I'm not sure which ones, and I don't know about Element, but you definitely have some options. But beyond your base vehicle, you're going to start looking at different construction. So you either have stainless, which is the cheaper option. I won't say cheap, but a little bit more affordable. And then this one is in titanium. I wanted to keep the weight down, especially that up high weight. So I opted for the titanium. A little bit longer wait time, premium price, but it does weigh, I think, 200 to 300 grams less just for the cage, which if you look at where all that weight is at, that's pretty big. So additionally, there's a bunch of different add-ons you can get: fuel cell, dash, the seats, sway bars, bump stops, mounts for auxiliary servos for like your overdrive and your dig on a Phoenix, winch fair leads. Another one of the big purchases I made was I did the machined aluminum hood and the grill. So these are not standard. You do pay extra for those. And then I also paid to have it anodized in this beautiful bright blue. Really pops. It looks just as good, if not better, in person. There's not a flake in it, but because it is like an anodized aluminum, it's just really, really bright. These are just flat aluminum. Just regular sheet metal, but they're cut really well. The fit and finish is nice on them. We'll see how they wear over time, but I'm happy with it. So that's just kind of an intro. If you have any more questions about the build process to this point, I'm going to post the build series up here. It starts off with my initial impressions of when I unboxed just the cage, And then the next video is me going through all the parts that I plan to put in this. And then there's been a couple of updates along the way. The last video, it was basically at 90%. The dash wasn't painted. I still needed to do the sway bar. The light bar wasn't mounted. And my winch was working, but not finished. I didn't have the hook terminated on it. So all of those things have been done. So I ended up doing the Proline curved 5-inch light bar. Had to do a little bit of cutting just on the end mounts to get it to fit in there. It's a really tight fit, but it does look good. The curved, I think, was the right option. One of y'all, I don't remember who, suggested a Friction RC 5-inch straight light bar. I actually already had this, and unless this gives me issues, I'll probably stay with this, but I do appreciate the suggestions, and I am always reading comments, and I always respond to your guys' comments in a fairly timely manner. Additionally, we got the sway bar figured. I've had this reef sway bar since the beginning. In hindsight, I should have just paid for RC Speedy's sway bar. I had to actually drill out the chassis just a little bit. I had to drill out the sway bar, and I had to use a rift, the actual spring steel sway bar, just because it was the only thing I had that was long enough. It's really stiff, but it is functioning, and we'll see over time if it's a little too stiff. I may have to custom make one or find something else that works that's just got a wider width than that standard reefs comes with. Those links where the reef sway bar connects to the trailing arms, there are hair on the long side. I know ideally you want your sway bar arms to be parallel to the ground or as close as possible when you're basically at resting position, but it's what I had. It's the shortest links I had on hand. It's not too bad, but I am looking to maybe do some custom links or figure something in the future for that. Like I said in the last video, the dash was white. You can see it's painted black. So this is just a flat black from Tamiya. It's intended for hard bodies. It's like one of their TS flat blacks. Worked great, stuck well. I didn't really do much prep. I just cleaned it a little bit. No issues. It shouldn't really get too much damage, so I'm not too worried about it. And if it gets damaged, I can pretty easily take it out and touch it up. I only have one sticker for the dash right now. I tried to cut out a dash sticker from the Phoenix kit, and it ended up being too small by the time I cut it, where you really can't even tell what the instrument is. I cut the tack out, and you can barely read the actual like RPM indicators. So just need to find some smaller stickers to use for that. And then the passenger side has a navigation like screen spot for a sticker, and I don't have a sticker that's going to fit that. So as I buy kits or whatever over time, I'll just keep an eye on, and if I find something that's going to fit this, I'll put stickers on it, but I'm not super concerned. I already showed you guys the front, but you can see I got that winch all hooked up. I know a lot of people run the little S-beaners from Night Eyes. You can find them at like Home Depot, I think Walmart. A lot of the big box stores carry them, and they really like them, especially in competition. You just break one of the clasps off, and then you have a really quick connect. But not the most scale looking, and I thought the red hook was a really nice touch on this. Kind of stands out. Other than that though, everything is mounted. I got all the screws in the body panels. I went back through, I checked all the screws. Nothing's loose that I know of. We'll find out over time, but I think it's time. You guys have been waiting for this. People have been asking. It's time to go drive it. It's probably going to get its first scratch. It's going to hurt a little bit, but that's what you build them for, right? You build them to drive them. It's the only reason it has electronics in it. Otherwise, it's just a model, a static model for the shelf. So I'm really excited. A little bit nervous, but not really. Only because everything's just crammed in here, and if I have to fix anything, it just takes time to get in there and work on it. And it does look so good on the shelf, assembled. Much better than it did in the box, disassembled like it did for months. So like I said, if you're all caught up on the build process and you're caught up to where we're at today, let's go outside, let's run it. I'm going to kind of narrate and talk you guys through as I go. I got a lapel mic that's got noise cancellation on it, so I shouldn't have to do any voiceover, so I won't have to go back during the editing process and kind of remember what I was thinking or what I was feeling, what the truck was doing. We're just going to kind of narrate it. You guys are going to see probably a lot more reverses and things, a little bit less edited on the driving, but I wanted to give you guys like a really raw, driving experience of this because I know some people have their eyes on them. So I want to be able to give you the best realistic experience that's going to provide, and the pros and the cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So one thing I'm going to be really keeping an eye on is that sway bar and seeing if that rear sway bar is too stiff. Obviously going to be looking at my suspension. Do I have enough travel? Do I have too much preload on there? I have a lot of preload right now on this truck just to get the ride height correct. I have the stiffest shocks you can get on the rear. I have the 90mm stiffest shocks, and on the front I have the stiffest 80s. I could put stiffer 90s in there to let off a little on the preload, but we're going to see kind of how it reacts and what it does. It's not going to be my most capable rig, I know that. It's 11.5 pounds or something. The weight was in the last video, but yeah, I'm really excited. After we drive it, we're going to come back, I'm going to gather my thoughts, and we're going to kind of sum this up. So you're going to see some dirty tires and hopefully a big smile, and I'll let you guys know what I think, what I would do differently in my build process, if there's anything I wish would be different about the chassis for maybe the C4, future iterations of this, and whether or not I would recommend it, kind of depending on where you're at in the hobby. So let's get outside, let's run it, and I'll see you guys there. What's up, guys? We're out here at my spot you guys have probably already seen if you've been watching any of the RC Garage Tour. It's a beautiful day here, almost January, a little crisp out. Geese are flying, people are fishing. The water's calm, but it is a little high, so I did lose some of my rock that I normally crawl on. So terrain's a little bit limited, but it's going to be good enough for this, and especially for the whole purpose of a shakedown run. I'll show you guys a couple things real quick, and then we'll get out there on the rocks. All right, guys, so just use my dog's blanket from my truck as a little pad, because in order to get the battery in this, get the hood undone, you do need to flip it over just to avoid the scratches from the bed liner. But there you get a good look at the underside. Brand new, never been ran, didn't cheat on you guys. Yeah, there's just a couple of screws are pretty tough to get to. They're basically up here underneath those Q series headlights. They're pretty tough to get to. But yeah, that's kind of the setup. So I'm gonna get a battery in it. We're running a 4300 Adventure Series from Jen's Ace 3S, and then we'll get everything hooked up. And then we'll get everything hooked up, and we will get out there on the rocks and see what this thing can do. So I'm excited, a little nervous, but definitely it's going to be fun. So already a quick update. So it is very tight in there, and the hood actually starts about right here. So I actually just took the hood off, just 2 extra screws in order to give me a little bit more room to get my battery plugged in. My battery wire is a little short, but kind of did that to save some room. You can see I haven't really tied everything off the way I should up here. I don't think anything is going to get to where it shouldn't be, but you can't really do much from in there because of the ESC and the dash and the steering wheel. So it is very tight. It's definitely not something you're just going to do a quick battery change on, but I'm actually going to go with a Ovonic 3600. Should be plenty of power. Those have been great for me. The 4300 is just a little bit tight, trying to get it in there. I probably could, but don't want to force it. Potentially rip the screws out of the dash or anything. It cleared before I had the dash screwed in. At least it seemed like it would, but everything's just a little bit more cinched down now. So learning some things while I'm working on this out in the field, trying to get my hood back on. I did not bring a ball and driver, so this front corner is not on, and I cannot get it on. It's just the angle with the cage, trying to get in there to the screws. My radio's beeping at me. It's just really, really tough. I'll see if I can show you guys. So the back ones are right there by that red wire, and the front one is down there in the very corner just above that Q series mount you see. And it's just the angle you have to get to it, and the the actual inserts into the hood. I don't think that's the hood is threaded itself. I think they're inserts that are pressed into it. A little worried about stripping it. I think I may have cross-threaded one of the back ones already. So we may be looking at an alternate hood mounting solution, because that isn't very field expedient, I'll say. Powered it on right here on the tailgate. Went to go check it, and the winch was reeling in on its own. Obviously putting a lot of strain on the winch, and the whole truck was kind of under a bind. Luckily did not cook the winch. So when I was rewiring everything, I switched the winch and my dig servo on the channels. And obviously their center points and things didn't line up, and the channels weren't right on the radio. So luckily powered it down. If you ever power something up, especially once you get into dig and you have accessory servos, and things don't seem right, immediately power it off. I cooked a servo on my Phoenix because I didn't have the center point right, and I was working on one of them while the other one was slammed under load, and I cooked a $130 servo doing that. So luckily no harm, no foul this time. Things seem to be okay. So I'm gonna get this all packed back in here, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, guys, here we go. First drive. We got dig activated. There we go. Just remembering how I programmed the radio. We're in low drive mode. Ooh, not ready for that first scratch yet. We're gonna save it. Let's go this way. We're definitely not gonna be hitting those toughest lines today. Looks like we're not in four-wheel drive. There we go. That helps. These rocks out here are really wet today, so not going to get the best traction. Sounds like I might have some visitors, so. Oh. Saved it for the most part. Really, really top heavy. Lots of power. Man, it is touchy. First rollover, guys, and I didn't even get it on film. Bent over to set my controller down to do something, and just where it was sitting, it just finally gave loose and rolled over, but that's all right. The nice thing about these rocks out here is they kind of fall apart when you hit them, so it actually, I don't think scratched the panel, it just broke the rock up a little bit. Given the weight of this thing, so far I'm liking the way it drives. It's definitely a heavy truck. Much more resemblant of what a full scale would probably handle like, especially with a big steel cage on it. A little bound up there. Didn't really want to pop an axle or anything. All this Vanquish drivetrain is really durable, especially since I have the machine gears in there, but it's not quite ready to break it if I don't have to. Foams are holding up great. I got the heavyweight Lil Novas. Drivetrain on these Vanquish trucks is very loud though. It's very top heavy. I don't know if you guys just saw it. Kind of wanted to kick the back end up. It's not that wasn't a very big drop down. Definitely more of a trailer than a crawler. Just way too heavy to do anything super technical, but it does look great. Just trying to keep it out of the water, save my foams a little bit. You can see the tires just chewing that stuff up. Still getting used to the whole filming and walking and obviously driving with a truck like this. Being a little extra careful with my driving just because I don't want to ruin it yet. I'm going to get a big gash or dent in it one day, and after that, it's going to really... Oh man, it is top heavy. Look at this. That's a really small drop off. We're going to see if we can... Tried to save it. It's gonna roll. There it goes. This thing's got a lot of weight in it. A lot of the weight's down low, but it definitely is still very top heavy. So you can see my new camera up there. Pretty good scale looking climb. A little wet up there though. Let's put it in high overdrive. Just bellying out. Not enough ground clearance, and I don't really want to get through the water. Let's go over here. Put it back in low overdrive. Hopefully the noise canceling's working on this mic. I guess you guys will know right away if it is, because if it's not a voiceover, that means it's doing a good job. I was originally going to try to, I got a gimbal for my Sony ZV-E10. It's very heavy, very cumbersome. So my driving camera is going to be my GoPro from now on, I think. Just so easy, convenient, nice wide angle. So it does a pretty good job of keeping the truck in the camera. You can see we got great support in those foams. Let's see if we can get it right there. A lot of weight on that foam right there. A little bit of flex, but also good support. All right, we're gonna try this line that I first started with. There's not a whole lot for me to hit out here today. You guys can see where the lake's at. Normally, it's out about another, there's another 20 feet of rock to play with the whole shoreline. So I don't know how many feet up the lake is, but it definitely is up significantly. We've had a lot of rain here, so. All right, we're gonna go high overdrive. Should help. Nope. Could use a better approach. So I'm gonna hand to God it over to here. Basically right where we started. Really wanting to roll on me. It is steep. We're gonna put our foot here, see if I can save it. There we go. All right, now is the time for dig. Oh, it might be too late. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Receiver voltage low.
Oh, getting some brown out.
Receiver voltage low.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. 3600 milliamp, fully charged. Never had any issues with that battery before. It's a big, heavy truck. Could have been all the runtime we get out of it on that battery. Not exactly sure what happened, guys. Just started getting receiver voltage low off my radio. So something tells me it's either, I thought it was maybe a brownout, just under load, but dig's not engaged anymore. My endpoints are good on my overdrive and dig. The winch is still loose up there. I didn't touch that. So it could have died, or maybe we cooked the internal BEC on that Mamba X. To be determined. So we're just I'm gonna give it a second and I'm gonna power it back on. We're gonna see what happens. Yeah, guys, so it says I'm only getting 4 volts off the receiver. That's a problem. It still runs, still drives. I don't think we're not gonna make this. Oh, we did make the climb, and I got it on video. Nice. Trying to troubleshoot the electronics. Yeah, it's the rear tires.
Receiver voltage low. Receiver voltage low.
Yeah, we're getting some sort of brownout, guys. I don't know what's going on. Okay, guys. So there's something going on with my electronics in this. It's a big heavy truck, so it's possible it's a little bit too cumbersome for the Mamba X and to run all the electronics it's running. My endpoints seem good though, so just had that little hiccup in the beginning where I switched those two wires. I don't think that's an issue. So I'll get it home, I'll double check my endpoints and make sure there's not a slight bit of load on a couple servos, and trying to give it power could be causing that servo to brown out. I don't know if I have a LiPo checker here with me, but I will definitely check this LiPo as it sits when I get home because I'm curious. We might be hitting close to LiPo cutoff, and that BEC and that Mamba X, it shouldn't matter. It should produce the 8 volts it's required to, no matter what. So we'll play with it a little bit. Probably be a little while till I can get it back out here and run it, but that was the whole point of this. It was a shakedown run, and that wasn't necessarily to like really test its capabilities. It was to figure out if there was anything wrong with it. So it's the way it goes. I'm not the most happy about it, but it did pretty well. It looks great. Very top heavy. So I'll go back to the bench and I'll tear into this and kind of check everything, check the config on the computer for the ESC, check the ESC voltage that the BEC is producing, and then I'll bring you guys in and we'll kind of recap today and kind of talk about a few of the hiccups and ultimately where I'm at with it and the recommendations I would make moving forward. So let's get back to the bench and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, guys, welcome back to the workbench. So we just took out the Speedy C3 chassis. We gave it a shakedown run. It was a pretty effective shakedown run. We definitely found some challenges, I guess, with running a vehicle of this weight, with this much going on inside of it, and just like the whole tube chassis, some of the mounting points not being in the most optimal positions. So let's recap. Was kind of trying to wrap things up anyway, and I just get this receiver voltage low warning coming across my Noble. It reads out receiver voltage. I have the BEC set to 8 volts, I think. Whatever the closest is that Castle ESCs will do. I think it's 8. And really weird. It was kind of like dead throttle. Everything was dead except for the steering servo. But I guess that's because it doesn't rely on the internal BEC. It definitely seems like I cooked the internal BEC. Maybe just when I first started it up and the winch was pulling in, maybe it damaged it. And then I may have been running it without a dig servo or one of the overdrive adjustability servos fully engaged, and it may have finally popped that BEC. Kind of thought the Mamba X would be, that's the reason I chose it over a Copperhead, to be honest. But I do have a 10 amp external BEC that I can wire in and try. I'm going to continue trying to troubleshoot. I'm probably just going to slowly unplug accessories and see. Maybe I got a short or something somewhere. It's weird. When I plug it in, it kind of smells like something's getting hot, but I have using my temperature gun, finally found it. Nothing appears to be getting hot. So it's really kind of strange, but not a quick fix. I thought maybe the battery was dead and Castle did something weird when you hit the low voltage cutoff that you set, which I usually set mine pretty high. I got home and I checked the voltage on that battery that I was running, and it was fine, 4.05. So we definitely sucked some pretty good juice with this, but nowhere near low voltage cutoff. Really weird. So I don't know. I'll probably, like I said, pop the receiver box open, start unplugging things. If it's something quick, you guys will see it real quick, maybe like a reel or a short. So it's just like, it definitely seems like there's something that's slightly under load where it's at, and it's just got it where it's like browning out. But yeah, nothing's getting super hot, so it must be very, very light. Okay, so let's talk about what happened besides the electrical issues. So just starting from the beginning, you guys saw a little clip of me talking about having issues getting the battery in. So I had to pull the hood all the way off. With the way the VFD sits, I kind of talked about this in a few videos ago. The battery tray has to sit kind of into the cab, and it makes it in a really challenging spot with the dash to where both Velcro straps are hidden. The one part is under part of the hood, and the other Velcro strap is basically under the dash. So I was like, oh, it's only 2 more screws, pull them off. I kind of forgot that I'd put them on with a ball driver, and I don't have one of those in my field kit, which if you guys have seen my tool series I started, that is definitely going to be something I get, just some cheap ones. Hopefully I can more expediently do battery install swaps on this. So that wasn't too big of a deal. I did have issues getting one of the screws back in. I thought maybe I'd cross-threaded one back here. It doesn't seem like it. It came out pretty easy. I think it was just kind of under tension when I put it in. But I think we're good. Moving on from there, obviously I powered it up. I had switched 2 of my channels when I did the receiver kind of final packaging, and my winch was on the wrong channel, and there was a little bit of trim on it, and it was trying to reel in on its own. Very low trim, so very low speed. Maybe power, probably not, but that is unfortunate. But the winch still lives. It was still working when I was out there. That was one of the first things I checked. I was like, oh, did I bump the winch? Is it, browning out because it's being sucked in? But just did a quick little swap of those channels. Just the hardest part was tracing the wires because I got them fairly hidden, and there's extensions on each, so the colors are changing on the wires by the time they hit the receiver. And so it just took a little bit of wire tracing, and I was able to make the switch, and things are set up exactly how I remember it was supposed to be. So let's go to the drive. So the drive went pretty well. The truck's definitely very top heavy. I realized that I could shed this rear spare tire, and that would help a lot. I have a machined aluminum tire. It's got IFR insert. It's got the hub on the back in order for it to mount a little nicer. There's a lot of weight right there, and that would help for sure. But I don't think it would make it some extreme performer. I think it's just the nature of this truck. It looks great out there. It definitely kind of lumbers around, which is kind of what I thought it was going to do. There's a few spots where I was a little disappointed that it rolled over or wanted to roll over. We did have our first couple of tumbles. The first one I actually missed getting it on camera, but I got another one. Unfortunately, it wasn't as much of like a torture test or anything, which is really not what I wanted it to be. But I didn't even get to the point where I was like kind of comfortable looking at suspension geometry, travel, things like that. The rear sway bar seemed to be fine. I was worried about it being a little too stiff. I think it's about right. So happy about that, because there's not really a simple solution for this unless I just contact RC Speedy himself and just order his, which I don't really want to throw any more money at this if I don't have to, because it's already very expensive. So overall, the driving experience was nice. It looks absolutely killer. The tires do well. This is the first time having these Rock Beasts, and I like them. They do pretty well in my terrain. The rocks were a little bit wet out there. They were kind of falling apart, and it's kind of that sand deposit. If you haven't seen any of my other running videos, they kind of just fall apart when you hit them, which saved me though on my rollovers, because I don't think I scratched anything. I think I just got it a little dirty, and that's fine because it's meant to be used anyway. So this one may get cleaned a little bit before it goes back on the shelf, but I'm not going to worry about cleaning out the treads or anything like that. So let's move along to my final thoughts. Would I recommend this to anybody? No, not at all. I think it's extremely expensive. You need to be extremely serious about the hobby. You need to have a pretty good assortment of like tools, your own hardware, spacers. You get some stuff, but it's just nice to have spares, some different sizes. Some of the stuff he sends with the chassis doesn't work as well as I wanted it to. So you just need to have kind of a good repertoire of tools and hardware and things at your disposal, spare parts, spare links. I didn't talk about it in the previous video, kind of that long summary of the build, but the dig and the selectable overdrive on the Phoenix, they're mounted in different locations, obviously, but they're different distances from the actuating arms that they control. Well, on this truck, they're basically symmetrical. They sit on either side, underneath the dash, up here. They kind of run just right here. And I don't know if it's a selectable overdrive link or if it's the dig link out of the Phoenix, but I had to use 2 of the shortest one, and it worked out great. I used the long 24mm servo horn that Vanquish recommends for those servos in a Phoenix. Those worked fine. None of those issues are causing any problems. My endpoints might be slightly off. I thought they were good. But yeah, it's not a linkage issue, but again, if you don't have any spares, you're going to have to source that, possibly buy a whole kit, make some custom ones, or just wait on an order, and that's always a bummer. Additionally, if you're spending the money on the chassis, even if you go stainless, you're talking in the hundreds of dollars just for the chassis. And then you need to buy a Phoenix kit. That's the most cost-effective way. If you got a builder's bundle, that would have been a great way to do this. But you need the transmission, you need the skid, you need the axles, you need drive shafts, you need shocks, and you actually need the longer shocks that come with the straight axle versus the portal. So yeah, you kind of have to cobble things together and come up with different solutions. A lot of test fitting. It's just slow, and it's really going to test your patience. If you're new to the hobby, that's not a knock on you. This is one of the most welcoming hobbies you'll probably ever find, but this just isn't the truck for you right now. Get some experience, get some serious wrench time, build that tool repertoire and skills as well. And eventually something like this would definitely be in your wheelhouse and your skill set. I've been messing with crawlers really, really hard for the last year, pretty much all of my free time. And I've had RC cars for 9 years. So, and even I obviously have some troubleshooting to do. I've made some mistakes, and I would hate for someone to get it, not be able to know how to set endpoints, or not know how to wire things or solder, or different challenges that come up, and it could be very frustrating, and you may end up like selling it, losing some money because it's not complete, or having a hard time finding a buyer. Now, what if you're not new to the hobby? What if you have a good bit of experience, you've got some extra cash in your bank account, or you've just been saving, or you plan to save kind of long term and slowly for this? Do I recommend it? Yes and no. So it's not perfect. You're going to find some issues. That single shear link mounting on the bottom I talked about in the previous video, I would really like to see corrected. I know he came out with some reinforcement plates, and basically you get a smaller spacer and it allows you to do a double shear, which I'm going to look to get anyway. They're free if you've already bought one, so I need to just order it. The suspension geometry isn't the most ideal. You get some pretty good bump steer. You end up rubbing your drive shaft, unless you use that stock drive shaft only, on the transmission. The hood mounts, the front, so you can unscrew it and lift it up, basically sit at a very, very tough angle right above these Q-Series LEDs. This chassis was built for Q-Series LEDs. I selected that as an option, and the mounts weren't moved. I would like to see the mounts moved, and make it a little bit easier to get in there, or honestly just put body posts on there and have pins that sit underneath. I would rather do that than have to have a ball driver in order just to flip the lid open. It's also a really heavy truck, so it's not going to be the most performance oriented. You can spend a lot of money and build a really, really high performing rig. This is just not one of those. This is more, it's going to look really great on the shelf, get it out on special occasions, and it's going to make for some great cinematography, some great pictures, and it's going to be a good experience. But the build is going to take some time, and you need to have some patience, and you need to have some time. It's not a one-day thing. I think some guys have done it in like a weekend, and that is super impressive. They must have really done their homework and knew exactly how to attack it to get it to the point where it was operational, and I had my everything programmed, everything where I wanted it, and I was very close, basically where it was in that last video, probably 10 to 15 hours. I can build a TRX4 sport kit in probably 3 to 4 hours with a power driver. Very easy. Comes with instructions that are super detailed, and it's really hard to mess it up. Additionally, the price. I'm not going to talk about the final price because I'm not trying to flaunt, oh, I have X amount of money to buy this. That's not what this is about. But do your homework. I will post a link to his website down below. You guys can go back and see every option that I picked for this. Go to the very first video and you'll see, everything I bought with it, and you can kind of see what it added up to. Throw a Phoenix kit in there, throw 3 servos plus a servo winch, throw a nice ESC, a nice motor, nice drive shafts, nice wheels, nice tires, and the price gets very, very steep very quickly. It kind of gets away from you. I went back just for my own knowledge and added it up, and I was baffled at what it cost. So let's go back to the original question. I've given you guys a lot of answers for no, not a lot for yes. One more for no, and it will kind of allude to why I think this is a yes for some people. Another no is, do you have a welder? Do you have the capability, the knowledge to draw in 3D and very carefully construct a chassis? If you've constructed tube chassis before, there's not to say like you can't mimic this for your own use. There's a lot of really good pictures out there. You can make some tweaks, make it double shear, and have a really great chassis and save yourself a ton of money. It's going to take a lot of time, but ultimately for me, the reason I went with this versus building my own is I didn't have any metalworking supplies, never welded anything in my life, so kind of looking to get into brazing just to start, make some sliders, maybe some bumpers, and then maybe someday make a full cage. But that's kind of where this is. It's kind of it's a very niche thing. If you are looking for something pretty custom, it's made to order. There's not a ton of them out there. They're starting to gain a little bit of popularity because they do look great. But it's kind of intended for someone who wants to take that next step. You've done some really nice kits. You've taken some kits and made them your own, and now you want something that's very, very unique that not a lot of people are going to have if you go out crawling. And it's going to give you like a very realistic driving experience. This thing's not going to climb a wall. It's not going to side hill on 45-degree angles. It's going to roll over, and it's going to get banged up probably. But if you're looking for that unique experience, something you can take your time with, build it, make it your own, then yeah, I do recommend it. It's been an overall positive experience. Like I said, it has been perfect. Even today, didn't go how I wanted, but I do recommend taking a look at it if you meet that criteria. You have experience, you've got good tools, you've got good knowledge on how things should go together because there's no instructions, and you have the patience to set it up right and take your time and not get frustrated by the process and the grind. Additionally, you may miss stuff in your planning process, like me. The Lightbar, it was like one of the last things I thought of. I don't know why. I thought I saw 4 inches somewhere, ordered a 4-inch Lightbar, got here, was like, oh sweet, let's put the light, okay, way too short. Order it again, wait another week or whatever, nothing at the local hobby store. So I'm not going to say go buy it, I'm not going to say don't buy it. Make your own decision. Take a hard look at what you have, and there's probably some things that maybe you're missing from your collection, and I would say start with those and make them your own. Gain some knowledge, gain some experience. This is one of those pinnacle purchases that you can have. It's not completely custom. I didn't build the cage, obviously. I didn't really build any of it. I put it together, but a lot went into it. The best way I could say to describe it, imagine doing like a 400 or 500 Lego set and having pretty much no directions. Somebody who spent a lot of time with Legos could probably figure it out with some good pictures and some good background knowledge. But if it's your first one, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys. The next time I go out, obviously, we're going to give it a second shakedown. We're going to continue to figure things out, get this thing dialed the way I want it. And it'll be an old, reliable machine in no time, I have a feeling. But that's where I'm going to leave you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the entire series. I really do appreciate it. This build has kind of been the heart and soul of my channel as I started basically 2 months ago. And you guys, there's been a lot of you that I think became subscribers because of this build. So I've got some other stuff planned, other stuff in the works, and I already made pre-order on a purchase that I think you guys are going to like as well. And I'm looking forward to the next challenge. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, especially if you know what's going on with my electrical issues. But just say hi, and I'd love to hear from you guys. But have a great new year, be safe, and I'll see you all in 2023. Thanks.